Hi everyone, this is Eugene, and today we're here with Vadim, and
Hey.
this is another episode of our live contract reviews. And today we're gonna review the tipbot contract, and that's a contract that is used by the near bot that allows you to tip people in Telegram directly. And Vadim is the author of this contract, so he can comment on the code. So let me present my C line. All right. Cool. So this is the leap RS, and it uses near SDK 1 and contracts 1 and also login. Main file, and there are a bunch of types. So constants for the testnet, and I guess this constants for the mainnet. Some balances. Okay, let's start with the main contract. So this near tips, and it has a bunch of maps. So we discussed this with Vadim before, and Vadim did the upgrade in the past that moved from hash maps to lookup maps. So now it actually scales pretty well. And so yeah, let's actually take a look. What are the maps there, and like what they doing. So some maps has the type, which is a Borscht type and contains two accounts, which effectively kind of creates a multi-map. But because this is a lookup map, we cannot iterate on it anyway. So this is a good use of the key with like two parameters. So instead of creating a lookup map of a lookup map, people can use this. And because Borscht is uniquely serializing this, it doesn't create any conflict with the keys, so long as the prefix of the top map is different. Okay, so talking by Telegram account ID is U64. Token account ID is account ID. Now, tips per account stored as a vector of tips, which is a contact. This is contact or contract? Or contact?
Yeah, it's contact. So those tips are generic tips. I introduced them later for tips in Twitter, I don't know, GitHub somewhere. And right now it's switched off. I have a flag. So maybe you can skip it if you like.
Right. Yeah, so
yeah, idea of this contact. So we can tip just by contact. Say we have a contact category like GitHub or email or something, and contact, which is value of the contact.
Got it. Yeah, the only issue with this might be if there's like it's exploding in size, then the vector itself might be pretty large to like deserialize and serialize it back. So as long as that doesn't exceed the gas required to deserialize it once, might be okay. Okay, Telegram users in the chat. So it's a set between Telegram account ID and the chat.
Yeah, this object I expected to use for referral system, affiliate system. So to reward only once.
Cool. Chat points. So again, talking by Telegram chat ID, and the reward point is U128. So it's how many points you get per chat ID and token ID. Huh?
So yeah, every chat can earn some DAI or NIR or any NFT token. And there is also a point. Yeah, a bit complicated now.
Cool. And so whitelisted tokens, so just look upside, then version, whether withdraw available, tip available, and generic tip available. So that's options. Finally, total chat points and chat settings, which are administrator and treasury fee. Numerator. What is denominator then?
I just put as simple as just with 100. I expect that I do not make it so complicated, just a number from 1 until something.
Cool.
Like percent.
Okay. Scrolling, so there are some external callbacks. Then that is promise success. So this actually is available now straight from the NIR SDK. With exactly the same name, so it doesn't need to be copied anymore. Okay, storage keys, tips, bunch of storage keys. Okay. Okay, deposit. So it checks that deposits enabled, and then gets the account ID and the balance, and then it calls deposit amount to account. So since this is internal method, you don't need to construct a valid account ID. So the idea would be, because it cannot be called from outside, only through the internal methods, you can use just a reference for the account ID. So you can basically have something like here as an account ID reference. And then when you call it here for the predecessor, you can just use this for a valid account ID. It has a method as a ref, which is gets the account ID reference for a valid account ID. So this way you don't need to try from. So you can basically just use something like this. Well, and then here, because now you don't have a valid account ID, but it's just a regular account ID. In case you actually call in something that requires a valid account ID, you either need to introduce an internal method or just pass it by reference as well. So for example, get deposit is public. This is probably where you may want to do the valid account ID, but not necessarily needed. And then you can have get a deposit internal that takes a reference out of this.
So the best practice is to use valid account ID on any public function and account ID on a private function.
Yeah, and usually like you don't want to clone it as well. Like at least for this case, right now you don't really need it to be cloned. So since get deposit is a public method, if you using it, then yes, you actually need pass a cloned account ID, but if it was an internal method and you have a reference, you would just pass a reference as well. So in this case, here you don't really need the prepared account ID, so you would just use a clone here. And then clone here. It's kind of the same.
Mhm.
Anyway, so and ideally, like in the future, the predecessor account ID would return you whatever valid account ID it is, so you don't need to manually construct it. So like we only deal in these valid account IDs. So there's no such thing as like invalid account ID. And if you want to construct it manually, then maybe there's going to be like a method that ignores the verification because you're sure that it's going to construct a valid account ID. Hey, Austin.
Hey, how's it going? Sorry I was late. Just was coming out of a meeting.
So we're reviewing tipbot that Vadim did. And it's anyway, we can skip the basic stuff and actually look into something more complicated. So deposit is a payable, and it takes touch deposit and deposits to the account. So this is to itself, but also you have a method deposit to account, and that's a similar method, but it deposits to a given account instead of your account. So usually these two can be unified as well into something like just deposit that takes an option. So what you can do is like introduce option here. And then if it's given, then you use it. If it's not given, then you'll take the predecessor. So depositing takes token account ID from the token. Okay. So how that works, basically, if there's a token name is near, then it means it's a native near token. Otherwise, there's some token account ID. And we verify that it has to be either near deposit or FT deposit. That may be later changed if the token ID is actually not so for example, the bridged USDT token, I believe, has the precision either of 8 or 6. So that's going to be pretty large deposit if you want to integrate like all of your tokens. Cool. What else? So we verified that the token is in the whitelist. So this can actually be implemented slightly different. So the more rustish way of doing it is going to be like let some token ID, which is already unwraps this into this, and then you don't need to unwrap it here. Yeah. We get the deposit. What I was confused is like balances and deposits when we were looking into this. So the deposit is account ID, but the balance is a Telegram account ID. Okay, so basically it gets the account ID for this token, and then it either gets it or returns 0. Okay. And then we deposit the balance with the increased amount that was given. Cool. Next, get deposit. We just looked at this. Get deposits returns it for given list of tokens. But I guess, well, you can potentially pass near, right? As a token ID. Then it will return your native balance.
Yeah, it should work. Did you tell that it wouldn't work?
No, I think it will work. It just so that
Okay.
usually you had a map, but here you don't have a map. Cool. To get balance is similar thing, but for Telegram account. And get balance is similar for Telegram account and multiple tokens. Get chat settings just returns a chat setting. So since chat ID is U64, it can potentially like overflow JSON. So maybe if the chat ID is fairly large, like if it's larger than 253, I think, then JavaScript may fail to serialize this. I'm not sure how large a Telegram chats, but you may run into some like weird JavaScript issue if you're dealing with the U64. So there is like a wrapped U64, which is like capital U64. So if you want to be bulletproof, you probably want to switch to this. But again, it's kind of, well, yeah, that's maybe you want to consider this. And chat setting. So we verified that this is the master account ID, which is defined by the constant right now. And so this check can be done like refactored into something like a third called by master or something like this. And then use, so the C-line complains because it uses assert with equal. So it expects to be called something like assert EQ that will give like both left and right when you verify it. And then we insert the new setting with the admin account ID and the treasury fee. So because you did it as U128, I guess, yeah, you just send that it's just for casting, so it shouldn't be an issue. like it wouldn't overflow that number again. But when you return it, like I guess it's also fine. Okay, delete chat settings, again called by master. It removes the chat ID. Now claim chat tokens. You pass a chat ID and token ID that you wish to claim. And get chat settings. So you get the chat settings for this chat. If verify that it exists. And the predecessor verify that you administrator. Then get the token ID. Not sure what point mean, but I guess that's going to be reward points.
Yeah, I made two different systems of reward points and tokens for chat, so didn't actually choose what will be the best fit. So this is the idea to incentivize different chats to install tipbot, so they can tell some fee, and they will get some small percent of fee. They will be able to claim some tokens which were given as tips in their chats.
So what might be better is just like use the actual token account ID for points if this points actual token, or like unless they're different. If they're different, then yeah, that's maybe okay. But in the future, someone might actually register a point account. So.
I believe I will just remove these points. Yes.
Okay, get the chat score that will return reward points, which is for fairly simple. So it has to be more than 0, then points by chat, getting a chat ID. And we insert 0, so we basically say, okay, we took all the points. Now we either, if the balance is near, then we transfer it out. But I guess right now it's not supported and you can only transfer points.
No, it should
no. It you cannot transfer points, right? So you can only transfer like near or not near. Okay, so near, you transfer it to the predecessor, and otherwise you do the transfer call. So here you may want to return a promise, because in both cases it returns a promise. So this way, when you have a transaction, it will not return it earlier than the transfer has completed. So if, for example, at some point it panics, it will say success here anyway, because it scheduled the promise, and then if the, let's say, account doesn't exist, well, that's probably not possible, but anyway, so you may want to do promise here, and then remove the type and type here. So this way, both of them going to be returned. So let's see, we're doing the transfer from account to that balance, and this is a memo, and call it the token Manjacta and gas for FT transfer. Okay, and then we're doing the callback. Transfer to treasure.
Yeah, this is a typo. I think I just copy paste wrong yesterday. So it should be next function. I will fix it.
Okay.
Next function name after FT transfer claim by chat.
Cool. chat ID, chat balance, token ID and wrap to itself, not deposit with the gas amount of 10K. Cool. So let's see what it does. So this is callback. So with the 3.0, you can do private, which pretty much does this. So you don't really need to manually write this. And then you have a chat ID, treasure fee, token account ID. So we check if it succeeded. If it succeeded, then good. If it didn't succeed, we say transfer failed.
So it's a wrong function. You check now. When we send some tokens to treasury, this is a correct callback on this case.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, for the claim tokens should be different, but very similar.
Okay, which one?
Right after previous function.
Oh, okay, here it is.
Yeah, this is the correct one. So I already fixed in my code.
Should again, it can be like marked as private. So we say, okay, that has failed. We basically are refunding we get the points or 0, and we insert it is the claim. Good. So yeah, that's increment. And then we return true or false. Okay. Get chat score. Looked into this. It's fairly simple. Get Telegram users in chat. Okay, so it takes a Telegram ID and a chat ID and returns whether that exists or not. So to valid, so basically chat that it less than or equal than 10. Then multiply balance by numerator.
Yeah, I want to ask about this. I saw some example with this U.
Right. So basic idea, if the value is like close to the limit and multiplication that you do is like not by 100, then it can potentially exceed U128. So U128 is something around 32 digits, 33. So which means like if near is 24, no, it's 38. Let's actually see. Okay, I'm gonna do my Python. In 128, it's so the value that you can get, the maximum near value is this, which is almost like 15 digits after the, which is okay. So we have now around 10 digits for like 1 billion. So you have a limit of like multiplying by some amount here. So there's some good margin of like 100K. So if your multiplication here does not exceed 100K, at least for near value, then you should be fine. But if you have some token that uses U128, then this can overflow before you divide it by 100. One option to avoid it is like you just reverse this. That's a bit weird because you're gonna lose precision, but you'll never overflow here. Or you use this, this cannot overflow because the denominator is higher and U256 is essentially a long number with like more bits to multiply. So it will get it back without loss of precision. That's why like it was usually used like this. Okay, internal method, send tips to Telegram from an account. How this is used. Let's see. Okay, there's a public method that uses this. Send tip to Telegram. So you give the Telegram account to receive amount, chat ID, token ID, and maybe treasury. So sender, Telegram account amount, chat. So we verify the tips work, then we check that token is whitelisted, the amount is positive. We get the deposit of the account, verify that then they tip less than amount, or at least all of it. Most all of it, and basically if there's a treasury fee, then we compute. Again, this can be done with a let sum. For this case, so you can do let sum like this, and basically unwraps the option if it exists and calls this if not. So we don't need to do this. We verify that the fee is valid here. Then we multiply the fee, and tip amount is this. So another option how you actually write it. Wait, does it even work like without mute? I guess it's like
Yeah, it works. It works.
Cool.
I guess here it's should be vice versa, sum and value. Yes, so unwrapped after. If let sum treasury fee is not unwrapped,
No,
should be
no,
unwrapped.
this like basically what it does is kind of like a JavaScript unstructuring. So we say, hey, if it matches, if this thing matches this, well, then put the value into this variable that was within the sum.
But we don't have this unwrapped on
Well,
this
it will
stage.
provide it for you. So that's kind of like left side of the equation and this right side of the equation.
Oh,
and then we just verify if this match works. Another option for this is like you can extract the fee out of this. So, okay. So we get the balance, and then we put the balance back with the tip amount. We remove the deposit, basically. Let's subtract the deposit. That's probably can be done before you put the balance back here. So it's somewhere here. Chat, if there is some chat ID, again, that can be the same pattern. If the amount is positive, more than the amount to the chat reward, then we say points in chat, user in chat. So if there is no user in this chat yet, then we can increment chat points by 1. Cool. And we can remember that this chat contains this user now who tipped. Let's log some message. if the treasury was positive. What if the treasury was positive, but there was no chat ID? Is it possible?
Yes.
Also,
Okay, this transaction is generated by my client, by actual bot. So it should be
someone
filled
can fake it.
Yeah, but then he will just lose the points. Okay, I get it. I will add chat ID check as well.
Well, what you can also, not sure if you need to pass the treasury because the treasury is already known.
I mean to grab it. Okay.
Yeah, you can grab it from the setting because someone can fake the treasury number.
Yeah, good idea. Still, is this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
What will he gain? What will he earn if he?
No,
will
he
fake
can
it?
put like treasury of 0, so that will not get to the treasury at all.
Yeah.
Not
He will have to spend his own money in order to fake this.
Well, he may get points for the chat, but not pay to the treasury. I don't know. Some random action. So if you have a treasury from the chat ID settings, so you can just take it out of the chat settings.
Yep. Yeah, my idea was to read those treasury fee from the smart contract and use it on the client. But yeah, I think better to check it here. Thank you.
Right. So reward score, if it's positive, then we basically get in the chat points again. This is a reward score. Right, we basically just deposit it to the treasury. So this variable potentially can overflow, no? Because you may have some weird token that they like. Because you can summing up points from both near and die. Even so, right now it's not going to pass the minimum limit, but they have different precision. So maybe it's a problem.
It's totally wrong. Yeah, I
to
agree. Yeah, my bad. I think that was wrote before I introduced fungible tokens treasury. That's why it's a mistake.
And this probably can be refactored into just withdraw token, internal withdraw token, because, well, because putting back into treasury, oh, I guess it's different, yes. So for treasury, we actually put it to chat points versus when we withdraw. When we withdraw, where do we put it? It's a claim somewhere. Claim by chat.
Claim by chat, yeah.
It's also chat points, so you can clearly unify. Unify this. Like treasury and this one. They are the same logic inside, just different messages.
But I think it was minus and plus, right?
Oh,
we should subtract or.
all right. All right.
So yeah, opposite transaction.
Yeah. Wait, what is treasury account ID in this case?
It's constant.
Oh, it's basically global for all chats.
Yes,
I see.
but chat has his own points. So idea was, yes, to make a treasury lock account, so only smart contract will be able to steal.
So that may be problematic because you increase the value here that can be used, but then you decrease it when it's succeeded. So instead, maybe you should not increase the value here and only increase it on success of the treasury transfer. So basically, instead of decrement it there, you increment it on case of success. So you kind of confirm that this score was received. And then you may need a callback for this as well if you want to handle it separately or just ignore it and like put it straight there. Not sure about the logic there, but like why you need to track it separately in the treasury.
Yeah, I think I just kept the
Right,
same
because-
scenario from withdraw function, but
Okay. Anyway, let's
so
continue. Basically.
shall I update what the thing? Shall I make
So
a
I'm
callback?
not fully understand because like you want to subtract in case of failure.
Yes.
And because the
Just
transfer is basically because the treasury account is kind of fixed, you can ensure that this method doesn't fail at all by just registering it for the well, I guess during the whitelisting process, maybe you can just like whitelist, like pay for the storage of the treasury, and then you don't need a callback because you know it's always succeeds.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a bit more complicated because you first had the points. So what if someone calls to withdraw the points, and then you get only after this you get this callback that said, oh, actually we failed to get it to treasury. Let's take it out, but it will fail because maybe it's already 0.
Okay.
So ideally, what you want to do, you either only increment it when it already succeeded. So this way, like, okay, we actually did transfer to treasury. Let's put money here.
Okay. So the same for deposit, I guess.
Yeah, it's similar to deposit, except here you don't need to subtract because no, not similar to deposit. On deposit, you subtract money, or you add money in case of failure. You can refund in it. But here it's going to be inverse. It's going to be, let's put money in if it succeeded. So like we actually successfully transferred to treasury account. Okay, now we can credit the chat with this transfer.
Okay.
Cool. What else what they're talking? Yeah. Cool. What else? Another option, you just don't even move it out into the treasury because like treasury is kind of the account that is controlled unless it will be later controlled by DAO. So you can do this as internal transfer instead of withdrawing. So you kind of like internally deposit the treasury balance as a separate value or just as part of the account, and then the treasury can withdraw this balance if needed. So this way you don't spend gas on transfers.
Yeah, I thought about it. So it's a better approach.
Now this is with authentication. We basically getting the balance, saying we're gonna do the Telegram, and then we call else contract to get the contact owner. And after this, we say predecessor amount, Telegram, chat ID. So with us, we get the option of account ID. And if we fail, that doesn't matter because we didn't took the money in the previous call. So this is good. So the challenge with the callback is if the promise failed, this method would fail as well. But for this, it is correct to do this stuff. Yeah, transfer 550 teragas. Callback tokens, sender, tip amount. We verify that the balance is positive again. Then we get if the account is there, then we get the account ID and say we put deposited from, that's internal, deposit to this account, tip amount. I guess you don't need it anymore because I modified here. And then we decrease the sender balance. And if there's no one, then we say we're gonna do send tip to Telegram for home account. This is internal, the one that we just reviewed. Cool. Again, treasury fee probably should be pulled out of the account ID. This is we looked, that's whitelisting. So this section don't need to check because that set will just ignore if the value is already there, so you can just keep it. Okay, under token, withdraw from Telegram. So we have not that much time left, but we can go a bit of over time to complete at least some of this. Telegram account ID, and token ID. So this can only be called by the current account. Withdraws are available, and we say verify this. Now that can be like, this can be replaced with valid account ID. Get balance. Token ID amount. If near, then we take some withdrawal commission. And we do transfer withdraw commission. Amount. Then we said that you withdraw everything. So if it's near, then we transfer amount. If it's not, then we do the FT transfer. Account, amount, token, and FT transfer balance. Amount. So the transfer has failed. We do refund the amount. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it seems like very frequent pattern that you have is like either increase balance or decrease balance. So maybe it can be optimized somehow. And that's a callback for the method somewhere else.
Could you show me, please, this helper? What is the best approach to make a helper function to set balance?
You can do it something like tab create or just private, like increase balance. Then you have, and you give
so just a function. I thought maybe it's any Rust tricks there. Okay.
No, it's just, but you construct this anyway, so you can use this like key. Then you can reuse key to like get the balance first. Get the balance using this key and then just increment the balance.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, deposits. Deposit is similar to the balance, except it uses get deposit. Withdraw from Telegram. So I think maybe like it would make sense in the future to unify balances and deposits by kind of creating some kind of like account enum. So what you can do is you can create, because they act very similarly, right? So potentially you can do something like enum kind of like account like via type account, I don't know, bad name, typed account, and then within it you can have something like near account ID, where you have account ID account. Wait, how you write it? Yeah, you cannot name it. Then you can have Telegram ID, or like Telegram account, and then you have Telegram account. Now, when you have here, you have the structure that was like tokens by near account. So instead you have tokens by typed account. And then you have account, typed account. And this way you essentially unified two accounts into one record. Then you can handle them fairly similarly. You don't need a separate logic for Telegram and for regular account, because at least at refund time. Anyway, let me like this kind of stuff. Just a consideration, because let's say in the future you introduce another like Twitter account ID, which allows you to tip in Twitter. So this way you can kind of, instead of introducing another map and a bunch of methods, you can say, oh, this is all deposits.
Yeah, I made that tips object for such a purpose, but I think your approach is much better.
Okay, we stopped. Yes, this authentication. So it's basically saying, okay, let's get the owner for this contact. So account has to be a recipient account ID. So this one has to verify. Oh,
As the difference that we allow to run this function from any account, not only from master account.
Yeah.
And we don't take withdrawal fee in this case.
So you're basically asking who is the owner of the. So the predecessor has to be the owner of this Telegram account ID. Right. Then we say balance is positive. Getting the tokens out. And then the balance gonna credit it back if it's not. How it can work? Oh, it's a U64, I see. Okay, got it. Cool. And we basically withdraw to recipient account ID. Okay. Now simple withdraw. Get deposit, storing 0, and then transferring the deposit and refunding it if not needed. Withdraw link drop. Verify that it's done by master account ID. Oh, you added it.
Yeah.
Okay, so it more than an access key allows, which is 1 year. Amount. Then we take all the balance. And we say, okay, go send it to this public key. The account ID. So to avoid some kind of error with public key, maybe it's worth doing something like there's a base 58 public key, I think, from JSON. This way you
Really?
kind of do early validation of the public key, and then you can still send it, but then this first variable should also be this. Oh, well. Yeah, that's just minor inconvenience that you cannot log it easily.
And still, it's only master account method. So,
Yeah,
do you believe it will have a problem?
Well, the public key itself might be invalid, so the link drop will fail, and like tokens can be returned back. Not a big deal for the.
It's
the
a private
contract.
message. Mm.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess
okay.
it's pretty much it. Yeah. Thanks a lot. Just my concern about.
Well, wait a second. How you do this actually? you need to attach not this amount, but amount plus the access key allowance because you just kept it now.
But it's amount equal balance minus with the.
Oh yeah, it does have an access key allowance. It should be fine. It should be okay. No, it's correct.
Okay. Yeah. So if it's more than 1 year, then I'm sending it.
Get owner, contract, contact owner. So that may not work for the view call. Like if you call it through RPC, it's gonna fail, but it's only gonna work with the cross contract call view. Because view calls cannot redirect the promises.
Yeah, but it works only with callback in my case.
Okay. Oh yeah, because yes, I got it. Yeah, that's how you use it. But then it doesn't have to be public.
Really? Will it work?
Well, if you only call it internally, then yes.
Yes. Okay, I will remove it.
Tip contact to deposit. What else is like?
I think we are done. Just some utility methods.
Okay. All right. So tip contact to deposit. We get Telegram account amount, balance, token promise, tips available, whitelisted, getting the deposit out. Verify that we have enough. Then we call on deposit. Count is none, not the owner, otherwise receiver. And sender, we take the sender balance out. Receiver. We increment the receiver deposit by amount in log it. That should be fine. Well, ideally, you should check again that the sender deposits higher than this. But that overflow, it will like panic here. If overflows are enabled, like overflow checks. Yes. So you're kind of okay, but probably want to have explicit error if the sender deposit is less than the amount. Even so, it was checked here. If it's called twice, that will arrive twice, and the second callback will panic on this.
Wow. Okay.
Tip contact with attached tokens. Cool. So we basically took the deposit and then return the promise. Let's attach tokens. We get the account and then we do tip transfer, which is a what? Tip available, generic tips. Tip receiver tips. Okay, that's some more complicated stuff that's not enabled yet.
Yes.
Okay. But all right, it basically tip touch tokens similar. Get tips, withdraw tips for undefined account.
Hey, John, I believe I just will remove this code
For now.
Yeah. So just it does work now. So I thought about how to add new contact categories. So for now it's not ready.
Okay.
Cool. Can I ask you one thing? So about this second scenario when we will just attach treasury tokens to some, not attach, increment any internal treasury and then withdraw it with treasury account.
Yeah.
So if chat will get points immediately, but treasury will not have enough funds, will it be a problem? Or shall we also postpone everything to internal balance of chat and then treasury? Something like locked and unlocked. It will be did you get me?
So mostly, yeah, but I guess treasury will get it also immediately because it's internal transfer. So you just deposit to treasury account and then you increment the points. So because they will be like, they can withdraw these points, but they're not withdrawing it from treasury. They're withdrawing it from current account right now. So that's maybe a problem.
Really?
So here's a claim by chat, right? So that takes it out of the current. No, it's
so it should be different. It should be a different contract to claim tokens, right? I should run this token or this function on a treasury contract.
Yes, yes. Or if it's part of this account, then you can just have a custom account that allows you to do this. So like you do claim, but then you don't withdraw it from current account. You actually, well, if it's owned by this contract, that's fine. Maybe you don't even need a treasury separately. You just like internally keep this balance and that's it. You kind of minted it, keep it by this account, and then you can withdraw it.
Yeah, I think it's the best one. And I will
because otherwise you cannot really like take it out this way.
Yeah, great catch.
Cool. All right, so let me stop recording. Thanks everyone.
Yeah, thank you.